Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Michael Gove's appearance before the Brexit Select Committee in Parliament and how his absurd answer to one particular question should be deeply concerning to us all. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, Michael Gove, who appears to be the minister who generally represents the government's position on Brexit, had to face a few questions from the Parliamentary Select Committee on our future relationship with the EU. Now, during the proceedings, one particular part where Michael Gove was asked why the government had not produced an economic assessment paper on the government's Brexit plans. Michael Gove responded that he didn't think they were terribly accurate, to which the committee chair, Hilary Benn, reminded Gove that he had produced one for the US trade deal plans. Gove tried to continue his line that he didn't think they were good predictors, even though he'd just been reminded that he'd been perfectly happy to produce one for their US trade deal plans, but not the EU ones. Then he tried to pour himself a glass of water, managed to miss his glass and pour the water all over his phone. All very funny, I'm sure, but there is a really serious element to this. Yes, the Brexiteers have constantly tried to push the narrative that you can't predict the economic impact of various policies and events. They had to because all the economists were saying that every form of Brexit, even the softer ones, would be economically damaging for the UK, and the hardest form of Brexit represented a form of economic vandalism that would send shockwaves around the world. So they got their supporters to believe it all. Of course, you can't predict economic impacts. How can you do that? That's seeing into the future, isn't it? But it is, of course, all nonsense. If it were not possible to predict economic outcomes with reasonable accuracy, it would be impossible for banks and other investors to reliably make money by investing and working out what the economic impact is of various factors. They would be gambling every time in a game of chance, and you can never win genuine games of chance over a long period. But they do consistently make money. They even pay millions to mathematicians to produce algorithms to predict the economic outcome of a whole range of events and scenarios with staggering accuracy. And as Ben pointed out, the government seemed happy to produce an economic assessment paper for their proposed US trade deal, but refused to authorise one for their EU plans. So the fact that they would do one for the US means that it's not that they don't believe they're not good predictors. Otherwise, why would they have done it for that? There is another reason. And that reason is really simple. It's because it will look very bad. They produced an economic assessment paper for the US trade deal because the US trade deal that Britain wants, which is not the one it's going to get, but the one it wants, produces a little above 0% benefit. It's less than 1%, but it is above 0%, so it is positive benefit. And they can sell that as, look, this shows that our economy would benefit from this US trade deal, even though it's not the one we're going to get. The previous government, under Theresa May, also refused to publish economic impact reports, specifically because they were always so damaging towards the notion of Brexit. It doesn't matter what scenario, what type of deal you tried to come up with, it was always bad. It always restricted the economy, shrank it, quite frankly. So why doesn't the current government just order the assessments and not publish them just like Theresa May did? After all, surely it would still be better for them to have them, even if only they see the results. That is still better, because at least that way they are fully aware of the consequences of their policies and have a better chance of being able to plan to mitigate them. In other words, won't be caught out by surprise. The reason is leaks. Remember when the government did produce an economic assessment report that said Brexit would cost us £2 billion a week? They didn't want that getting out. They didn't want to announce that figure, but it did came out because, well, it was leaked. Or what about the report that explained the devastation that would be caused in the event of a no-deal Brexit, the current government's plans? Operation Yellowhammer it was called. Again, we only know of that from a leak. It was never published. This is why they don't want to authorise even the report. They know it will be damaging, and they also know there's a bloody good risk that it will be leaked, that they won't be able to keep it just for themselves. Besides, if it exists, even if there's a chance that his relatively tame parliament might make noises about wanting to see it, they don't want that. Can't ask to see what doesn't exist. But what this means in practice is that the government is utterly clueless about the consequences of its policies. They are sticking their fingers in their ears and closing their eyes over this. And because they are deliberately keeping themselves ignorant, it's impossible for them to plan for those consequences. That basically means that when those consequences become a reality, there won't be enough in place to deal with them because there was no impact assessment made. So, of course, there can't be anything in place to mitigate the damage. And what was always going to become a dreadful situation will become genuinely cataclysmic purely because of this self-inflicted ignorance. And that would be without the other major threat to life and the economy that we're currently mishandling. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.